Warzone shares some commonality with the entirety of the BR genre, even though they intended to shake it up, that being the basic same ideology: drop in, loot up, survive, and be the last player or squad remaining. While the fundamental formula may be shaken up with things like buy stations to use your in-game currency, a gulag 1v1 feature to earn your redeployment back, and the many features in between that separates this from the very basic battle royale, the importance of the similar fundamentals are still very much so relevant. Today, I want to discuss with you the best places you should be dropping, looting, and even a little bit further discussing a bit of an odd mystery that we have on our hand, currently revolving around a tier of loot higher than legendary, and where or when we may be able to see what that actually means. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of the current loot pool? How would you adjust it if you had the ability to? I feel like we'll have some similar ideas here with this. And as well, how do you think we'll end up seeing the introduction of whatever's behind that upper level of loot and the mysterious bunkers that contain it in Warzone? If you do enjoy anything we discussed here today, do be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone content. That said, let's jump into it. Firstly, overall, we can likely breeze past some of the simple stuff. Loot, of course, can be found in Warzone in a handful of different ways: on the ground, in crates, in buy stations, and of course, off the bodies of opposing teams or players. When it comes to most loot in Warzone, at least right now, loot is really only valuable at the very beginning of the game before you either get it yourself or pull together for a loadout crate, to which you can have the pick of the litter. Literally whatever weapon that you want, fully decked out how you want it. But when it comes to loot and crates, oftentimes it comes down to the simple RNG of crate spawns. You could get a bare model 680, or you could get a kitted AK or M4A1. There are, however, at rare and random occasions, legendary crates that guarantee a legendary item, in the case of weaponry denoting how many attachments are included, with legendary being a fully loaded weapon blueprint, so that you'll have also some cosmetic changes as well as a max of 5 attachments. But these can be few and far in between, right? So how do you increase the probability of getting a decent yield? Well, by adhering to the best drop locations. For Warzone, loot locations can be classified by categories of 1 through 5. 1 being the lowest, common spawns, you'll be lucky to find something good and worthwhile, and 5 being a high probability of something good actually coming of your loot yield, perhaps even multiple legendary crate spawns. Now what's nice is that instead of dropping in a few thousand times over and over and over again at different and same locations to plot data points of every single crate spawn and what you got out of it, the official Call of Duty website saved us lifetimes of dropping into the map of Verdansk, which is the world of Warzone, if you will. From here, there are plenty of data points on every single point of interest in the game, which is incredibly cool, but each location also has a stat bar to denote what in-game classification the location is, from 1 to 5. Now, unlike the stat bars seen in multiplayer for years now, which are more so arbitrary, these have a bit more validity to them, mainly because of the logic behind it. When you look at each of the 5 spawns, they're incredibly dense locations like downtown, which is simply where more spawns will be for crates, thus increasing the probability that you'll find something of value. Things like your ones off in the hills, that's naturally going to be a lesser yield of worthwhile items because there's not a lot of spawns there. It's just mainly terrain and a couple of buildings scattered about. So by definition, that leaves a noted 19 tier 5 locations that you can consider landing at. Those being in Karst River Quarry, the main areas, Airport Control Tower, main concourse and parking, TV station, lumber, storage town, trains main concourse and ticketing area, hospital, basically all of downtown Verdansk, including the D flag wing, skyscraper and A buildings, Promenade East, C building of port, and prison. Now naturally, that's not the definitive and only locations that you should land, but you'll probably notice there are a ton of people that normally go there. I find places like Superstore, Hills, and Military Base to be solid options as well, even though they aren't classified as 5s and instead are anywhere from 3 to 4. Another cool resource that if you don't want to go through every single location individually on the Call of Duty website that I came across was a site that I first saw posted on Reddit, hosted by a website called Map Genie, and it's an interactive map of Verdansk where you can show or hide basically everything you could imagine. Loot tiers, ammo caches, buy stations, supply boxes, vehicle spawns, locations of items like bunkers, computers, phones, Easter eggs, and all the likes just from your browser. Now, I have no affiliation with this website, and I'm honestly not even sure who compiled it all and made this, and I really wish I did to give proper credit because it's awesome, but it's an incredibly cool tool to me. And what's awesome is that this follows kind of in the footsteps of something that we had in Blackout last year, of following the same sort of viewer hide functionality for various different items, bunkers, and it can be a useful tool for new or veteran players. I'll drop the link down there in the description below because you can check all of these things for yourself right there with relative ease. But really though, what's the use for loot drops when all you have to do again is get 6,000 cash fast and gain your loadout drops? And I mean, honestly, that's an incredibly fair point, but one reason that I wanted to discuss loot tiers and their spawns is because we have an incredibly strange anomaly, I guess you could call it, if that. There's some discrepancies in loot information provided by Call of Duty, plus also, again, something that seems to be even higher than what we have on offer. For one, let's start with a discrepancy. There's an unmarked inaccessible tier 5 spawn in Stadium, but the catch is you can't actually get in Stadium. It's honestly one of the biggest wastes of space on the map and one of the few gripes that I really think I have so far with Warzone, because you have stuff sure on the outskirts, but the Stadium is almost an entire grid location by itself, and you can't enter into it. You can go around the perimeter, but other than that, it's just kind of a giant bare ceiling or rooftop that you can fly up on top of, and sometimes the zone can screw you out of a win because you can't actually get on it unless you have a helicopter. One hopeful aspect about this, and may answer the question as to why it's labeled as a tier 5 spawn, is that the official website says that the Stadium interior is currently inaccessible, opening the possibility that maybe it opens in the future and is something we can access whenever that may be. We just don't know at the moment. Perhaps the most perplexing thing though when studying loot rarities and hot zones on the map though is the existence of a 6th tier of loot, one that's currently unavailable to any player. We only know of tier 6 because of, again, the official strategy guide in this website that Call of Duty set up for Warzone, once again referencing the statistics that come along with each zone. If you were to inspect Element the site and see how things are laid out, each tier is categorized by 20% increments, naturally meaning that 20% is tier 1 loot, 40% is tier 2, 60% is tier 3, 80% is tier 4, and 100% is tier 5, capping out that stat bar measurements at that point as well. But all throughout the TAC map and strategy guide subsections where you can learn about each zone are the existence of 12 classified locations spanning the various sectors. These naturally don't have any information except for some jumbled transmission text with redacted flashed on them, and nothing definitive like the plethora of other locations around the map. But the first I saw to discover the backing information that isn't actually public was Sour, who, again, through Inspect Element, you can see the denoted tier association by their percentage intervals, and strangely enough, each of those classified locations has a 120% value, exceeding the 100% cap the stat bars would normally showcase. So what's tier 6 loot and why aren't you landing at these bunkers and classified locations every single match? Well, the reason that you're not landing there is because currently there's nothing there. The values look to be associated with loot that may be in the bunker, but naturally you can't enter into them. Even if you were to somehow clip through the blast doors like you could with a recon drone glitch, I don't really want to call it an exploit because it's kind of harmless and just lets you simply be under the view of the map. You can't really gain any competitive advantage from that. If you do that, you'll be able to see that at the moment there's not even anything on the other side of those blast doors. There's not a super farm of chests or a clearly defined secret tunnel system or anything like that. But again, that's just yet. There are plenty of rumors as to what could be on the other side of those blast doors and the tier 6 level of loot, what it would be, ranging from Juggernaut armor to the Gatling guns that Juggernauts would be using, and basically anything OP or overpowered you could imagine. The problem is, though, that we just won't know until we have access into said bunkers. We won't know if it's truly the holy grail of loot in one or all of those bunkers, or it could be oppositely, we won't know if it was some sort of coding error replicated 12 times in the strategy guide, or maybe some web designer was just like, you know what? Let's just send these guys into a frenzy with the change of one number. We just won't know yet, and that's the crazy mystery of it. Now, the impasse that further does not allow us to know the true meaning behind all of this is the fact that we don't have any more leads on the current Easter egg revolving around the seemingly bunkers, laptops, and phone locations around Verdansk. It seems like all progress has since halted. A lot of this stuff was found within the first 48 to 72 hours, but nothing else has seemingly come from this since then. For those that are unaware, though, the bunkers, the phones, the laptops, they all have the ability to be interacted with in specified designated areas. There are, of course, tons of different computers, tons of different phones around the map because that's just an asset that's going to be used to fill out different office spaces and things like that. But there's no effect on the ones just yet that can actually be interacted with. The keypad is a great example of this because you can interact with the keypads at each of the bunkers, but it says to enter a code. And clearly you're not adding in any sequence of numbers, you're just hitting one button and it's interacting with it. So until something changes or another avenue opens up that explains it, things seem to be just kind of at a halt. They're kind of at a brick wall. The next logical explanation for this, though, is that the trigger may simply just not be in the game yet. Maybe the loot levels and the rarities are actually placeholders, and maybe this Easter egg is somehow going to trigger the nuke that was rumored ages ago but was since shot down by developers at pre-release events. Maybe the nuke is in fact the part of the referenced live event that players have to look forward to in the future lifespan of Warzone, and thus the loot denomination of tier 6 behind it is something that literally ends the game or ends a season perhaps. Maybe that's how we transition over into season 3 with a nuke cinematic that is triggered where all players go into the bunker. We just don't know yet. That's the fascinating part and the true mystery of it. But whatever lies behind it, it seems like we have a tier 6 of loot that's denominated in the very hidden depths of the strategy guide for Warzone. That said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. I want to talk loot with you guys a little bit, give you guys some heads up on some places you may want to look for, and also what it may mean to have some giant mystery behind the entire world of Verdansk. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. What do you think is going to happen here with these bunkers? What about tier 6 loot? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. But if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare and Warzone, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.